Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. I'm Antara and you're watching Front Page by AM Network. It is a packed pipeline this Wednesday afternoon, but before we get to the top stories, here's something you don't want to miss. Cypher 2026 is back, ladies and gentlemen, and it's bigger and better than ever before. Join us this October at KTPO Bengaluru for the 10th edition of India's largest AI summit. If you are serious about AI, this is where you need to be. And remember, early bird passes are expiring soon, so go grab yours. With that, let's get started with the headlines. OpenAI has confirmed that its autonomous AI agent broke out of a locked test environment and hacked into Hugging Face's systems while trying to pass a cybersecurity evaluation. Google launched Gemini 3.6 Flash, 3.5 Flash-Lite, and a restricted 3.5 Flash cybersecurity model for developers, while its flagship Gemini 3.5 Pro remains undated after missing its June launch target, raising questions about its competitiveness against OpenAI and Anthropic. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those stories that sounds like a science fiction until you really check the source. And the source here is OpenAI itself. We'll take a deep dive into the story shortly, but before that, you should know that technology never stops, and neither do we at Front Page. So do like, share, and subscribe. With that, let's get straight to the story. Now, in a blog post on Tuesday, OpenAI confirmed that an autonomous agent powered by its AI models broke out of a secure testing environment, reached the internet, and hacked into the systems of a company that hosts open source AI models. The name of the company is Hugging Face, and all of this happened while the agent was trying to complete an internal evaluation. Now, let's just look back a little to fully understand what was happening here. OpenAI was evaluating two of its models. One of them was GPT 5.6 Sol, which is its latest publicly available model. And there was an even more powerful unreleased model on a cybersecurity benchmark called Exploit Gym. The test hands an AI agent 898 real-world software vulnerabilities and one instruction per bug. Now, to see what the models could really do, the evaluation ran with reduced safety filters, which is the standard practice for this kind of capability testing. Now, the models were supposed to stay with a connection to an internal software package registry instead of direct internet access. Now, what really happened here? According to OpenAI, the agent escaped that sandbox anyway and broke into Hugging Face by exploiting two code execution flaws in the company's dataset processing pipeline. OpenAI says that the agent wasn't really pursuing some broader malicious goal. It was completing a task, and breaking out of containment was simply the path it found to do that. Now, Hugging Face first flagged the breach in its own blog post roughly a week ago before OpenAI's disclosure. Now, they described an attack unlike anything it had dealt with before. The AI agent was generating tens of thousands of automated actions and more than 17,000 logged attacker events. Co-founder and CEO Clement DeLong posted on X that Hugging Face suspected the sophistication pointed to a frontier AI lab. And in his words, it turned out to be true. Now, to tackle those attack events, Hugging Face security team first tried a leading US frontier model through its standard commercial API. It didn't work. So Hugging Face then turned to GLM 5.2, which is an open weight model from Chinese AI company Z.AI. And that, viewers, worked. Now, here's the Front Page take on this. When we look past the chaos where Chinese AI cleans up American AI's mess, we could understand the real issue here. A frontier model with an airtight sandbox still found a path to break out and cause real damage without anyone instructing it to. That's the containment problem the industry has been warned about time and again, and it is playing out in the real world. So here's a question I would like to ask to each one of you. If a model's own safety restrictions can get in the way of progress, what must safe by design need to actually mean going forward from here? Let us know what you think in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by AM Network. Like, share, and subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Every AI lab has one model everyone's actually waiting for. For Google, that's Gemini 3.5 Pro. Today, Google didn't deliver that model. It delivered everything around it instead. Google has introduced 3 new Gemini models, which is 3.6 Flash, 3.5 Flash-Lite, and 3.5 Flash Cyber. Production management lead Tulsi Joshi framed the goal directly. These models deliver, quote-unquote, the efficiency, latency, and reliability to build AI agents at scale. Not the flagship, the workhorse tier. The models actually running most of today's AI agents in production. 3.6 Flash and 3.5 Flash-Lite are live now in the Gemini app, Google AI, as well as the Android Studio. So what does the new workhorse model actually do better? According to the Artificial Analysis Index, 3.6 Flash uses 17% fewer output tokens than 3.5 Flash. On some benchmarks like Deep SWE, an efficiency gain reaches 65%. And it's priced lower too, $1.5 per million input tokens and $7.5 per million output tokens. Fewer tokens, lower price per token. That's a real cost reduction for anyone running agents at scale. Performance moved too. Coding precision improved on Deep SWE up to 49% from 37%. Computer use accuracy improved on OS World Verified up to 83% from 78.4%. Now, customers like Figma, Harvey, and Hebia are already using it for document parsing and multimodal analysis. Now, 3.5 Flash-Lite, Google's fastest, most cost-effective model in the 3.5 lineup. 350 output tokens per second, according to Artificial Analysis. Priced at just $0.3 per million input tokens and $2.5 per million output tokens. And here's the surprising part. On several agentic and coding benchmarks, Flash-Lite actually outperforms the larger 3 Flash model, including SWE Bench Pro and OS World Verified. A cheaper, faster model beating a pricier one on real tasks. Now, early users like Palo Alto Networks and Ramp are already leaning in on for high throughput workloads. Now, there is the most unusual release of the 3 in the picture, which is 3.5 Flash Cyber, fine-tuned specifically to find and fix security vulnerabilities at a lower cost per token than larger models. It is built to work inside Google's CodeMender agent, where multiple cyber instances collaborate to produce a single security report. But here's the deliberate limitation. Given the dual-use nature of this technology, Google is restricting access. 3.5 Flash Cyber will be available exclusively to governments and trusted partners only through a limited access pilot program. A tool built to find vulnerabilities faster than attackers, deliberately kept out of open general release. Now, here's the part that Google didn't announce today. Gemini 3.5 Pro, which is the flagship. Reuters reported that Google shared no timing update for it, despite CEO Sundar Pichai originally promising a June launch at May's I/O keynote. The reported reason was that the model has fallen short of internal goals, particularly around coding, now one of the most lucrative enterprise AI use cases. And the stakes here are very, very real. Gemini 3's launch last November pushed Google back to the front of the AI race. After years as a perceived laggard, it reportedly triggered an internal code red at OpenAI. Since then, the rivals have struck back hard. Both OpenAI and Anthropic have shipped their own frontier models this year, each facing separate rounds of government scrutiny over safety and export concerns before release. Gemini 3.5 Pro is the model Wall Street is watching as a real signal of whether Google can keep pace with it. Now, let's zoom out a little bit. Microsoft is testing Kimi K3 to cut Copilot's inference cost. Apple just overtook NVIDIA as the world's most valuable company. And now Google ships its efficiency tier while its flagship model quietly slips further behind the schedule. Every major AI lab is racing on 2 fronts at once: efficiency today and the frontier model that decides tomorrow's bragging rights. Here, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is the front page take on this. This is Google shipping the models that keep developers building, while the model that actually proves that it can compete stays unfinished. The question is Google's Flash lineup enough to hold developer mindshare? Or does the growing silence around Gemini 3.5 Pro's launch date say more than today's announcement did? Let us know what you think in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by AM Network. Like, share and subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architects, technical consultants, Gen AI practitioners, developers who want to move beyond experimentation and deploy AI systems that create measurable business impact. The future of AI belongs to professionals who can take intelligence from concept to real-world execution.
There are a lot of models available on Amazon. You can use any model. For this particular workshop, I'll go with Llama 3. It's the simplest, easiest, and in terms of cost, no problem. But yes, if you are an organization, you want to go and work, you can use Anthropic's Claude model. You can use any of these models. So this is the 2ml file. And what you need, all of you, is you can see there is a Docker file also created. There is a Pi project created. There is requirement, and this is the environment. So this is the app where you have a Pi cache. So this is your cache. Init.py will not have anything, that is for initialization. This is your actual agent script. And then here you have got a README, which you can use automatically running in Docker, and these things come automatically.
You can click on data store. You can click on the tool name. So this is tool 1. It's a data store. You can give the description. Now I'm going with the lowest score in terms of grounding. So we have low confidence that the response is grounded.
Welcome back to Front Page, and thank you as always, Antara, for your very astute coverage on the global front. But before we get into our India-centric headlines and what follows is, of course, the front page stories, here is something which is very, very important for me to share with you, which also brings me a lot of joy, which is the fact that Cypher, India's biggest AI summit and expo, is back. Yes, and it's going to be alive and kicking in October of this year. The venue is KTPO Bengaluru. Cypher, by the way, is back with a bang in its 10th edition, which makes it bigger than ever. So if you're very, very serious about your AI and tech, which I know you are, then well, I'm pretty sure you will be at Cypher 2026. And now, here are the headlines. Bengaluru police allege that a man spent nearly 6 months consulting Google's Gemini chatbot while planning the murder of his live-in partner's family. A high-level Ford delegation met Tamil Nadu CM Vijay to discuss reviving its dominant Maraimalai Nagar plant, with the state pressing for faster progress on the 3,250 crore rupees engine manufacturing project targeting 2029, alongside GCC expansion plans. TCS reportedly acquired land in Visakhapatnam and Pune to build OpenAI's first India data centers through its Hypervolt subsidiary, days after launching a Gemini Experience Center with Google Cloud in Kolkata, deepening its AI infrastructure push. Paras Defence's subsidiary will invest 6,200 crore rupees to build an advanced semiconductor packaging OSAT facility in Indore, Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh, covering chiplet integration, hybrid bonding, and flip chip assembly, marking the defense company's entry into India's chip supply chain. As domestic AI transforms real-time threat detection across airports, transit hubs, and major public events, now Winston Lobo from AIM, our senior tech journalist, will join me exclusively to discuss how indigenous surveillance systems and body scanners will power national security. This, and of course, how AI is being used positively to solve real-world issues. Now, this is a difficult story, and we want to walk through it very carefully, focused on what AI accountability really means. It is because that part hasn't come up in an Indian murder investigation like this ever before. Bengaluru police allege that 25-year-old Kenneth consulted Google's Gemini chatbot at almost every single stage while planning the murders of his live-in partner Shweta's parents and younger sister. They were killed, unfortunately, on the 22nd of June in the city's KR Puram area. Now, police say the alleged planning stretched over 6 months. Investigators believe the alleged plot grew out of financial strain. Shweta had borrowed around 50 lakh rupees from her parents to help fund Kenneth's cloud kitchen business. Now, as the money ran out and payment pressure mounted, police believe Kenneth began viewing her family as an obstacle. Now, reportedly, Kenneth avoided asking Gemini anything as direct as how to commit murder or, for that matter, dispose of a body. Instead, investigators say he framed his questions as hypotheticals. They were along the lines of, for example, if something like this happens, what should I do? Now, this was done to draw out the information he was allegedly after, including questions framed around confronting intruders and details on weapons. Police say Kenneth has also built an iron furnace which was originally meant for his cloud kitchen venture in the first place, and he of course considered using it to dispose of the bodies. Now, this was an idea he reportedly abandoned as impractical only after weighing the logistics with the chatbot. Now, investigators say Gemini was the only AI platform he used throughout. Bengaluru police have now written to Google They are seeking access to Kenneth's Gemini chat history alongside the digital evidence already gathered. A senior police officer told the Indian Express that investigators had almost considered naming the AI chatbot as an accomplice, given how extensively Kenneth allegedly relied on it. Although police have been clear, they aren't suggesting the tool itself carries any legal liability. Officers described it as possibly the first murder investigation in the city, built this extensively around AI chatbot use. Now here comes the front page take. Now, what this case revolves around is a genuinely new question for investigators, lawmakers, and AI companies all alike. Right now, the law has no real framework for what an AI chatbot's role even means in a case like this. And this investigation may end up being one of the first attempts to define it, maybe setting precedent. So, well, here's the question for now, which I have for all of you. When someone spends months schemingly extracting information through carefully worded hypotheticals, at what point should a system be able to recognize an escalating dangerous pattern? And as AI chatbots become an ordinary part of how people privately seek information, what responsibility should exist to notice a pattern like this before it turns into a tragedy? Please do let us know what are your thoughts in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Now, for nearly 4 years, one of Tamil Nadu's biggest factories has remained, unfortunately, silent. But today, the company that abandoned it walked back into the Secretariat to talk about switching the lights back on. And well, before we move into the further details of this wonderful development, please, it would be wonderful for you to constantly keep the lights on Front Page by liking, sharing, and subscribing. It truly motivates us. Yes, thank you so much for your kind support. And now, a high-level Ford delegation met Tamil Nadu Chief Minister C. Joseph Vijay in Chennai, led by Vice President Matthew Godlewski. The Maraimalai Nagar plant near Chennai has been lying dormant since Ford exited vehicle manufacturing in 2021. Now, CM Vijay urged the company directly to expedite the resumption of manufacturing and expansion activities at the site. And here's where actually this factory went quiet in the first place. Ford entered India in 1995, building its Maraimalai Nagar plant, spreading across 350 acres with annual capacity for roughly 200,000 vehicles and 340,000 engines. That entry helped turn Chennai into what's often called India's own Detroit, drawing in Hyundai, Renault, Nissan, BMW, and a host of others. But after investing about $2 billion over 3 decades, Ford unfortunately exited India in September of 2021, unable to compete in the country's brutally price-sensitive market. It sold its Gujarat plant in Sanand to Tata Motors. Maraimalai Nagar it simply kept and left, well, standing empty. The revival actually began months ago, and that's the good news. Back in October of 2025, Ford signed an agreement with the state government, committing 3,250 crore rupees to convert Maraimalai Nagar into an export-oriented engine manufacturing facility. Now, Ford's Jeff Merentic, who's the president of the International Markets Group, said at the time, and I quote, "We are pleased to advance our plans and confirm the Chennai plant's vital role in Ford's manufacturing network," end quote. Now, I'd like to shed light on the plan. Now, the plan is engines only for export markets, not a return of Ford cars to Indian showrooms. Unfortunately, we actually missed those. But then, what has changed with today's meeting? That's the question. The answer probably is here. Not so much the investment figure, not the timeline. Ford still expects production to begin in 2029 with planned annual capacity of 235,000 engines and more than 600 direct jobs. There is no revised production date which has emerged from today's discussion. But what the delegation did confirm is that it plans to also expand Ford's global capability centers and take up future investments in the production sector. Now, CM Vijay recalled Ford's 3 decades association with Tamil Nadu and assured the company of the state government's full support. And why not? Now, here's why actually Ford never fully walked away from this state even after 2021. Ford still owns the Maraimalai Nagar site outright. Reusing it costs less and takes less time than building an equivalent plant from scratch. Tamil Nadu also offers an established network of vehicle and component manufacturers, major ports, and a workforce with 3 decades of automotive experience. And there's, of course, a business already running here. Now, Ford operates one of its largest global capability centers in Chennai, employing around 12,000 technology professionals. A newer center in Coimbatore has added to that very footprint. But here's a point where I would like for us to clarify about what this meeting was and was not. This wasn't a fresh investment announcement, so let's be clear about that. There is no revised production data which has come out of it. Ford and the state did not announce a passenger vehicle manufacturing program or, for that matter, confirm any return of Ford cars to Indian dealerships. An idling engine plant coming back online makes, future vehicle production a lot easier. It doesn't, on its own, make the business case for selling Ford cars in India again. Well, probably I think that would be a far more complicated decision. It might happen, you never know. Might be on the offing. Everyone is tight-lipped about it right now. But then, that's my speculation. I'm always an optimist. Also another thing I'd like to add, that would still need competitive products, local sourcing, and a rebuilt dealer network. But here comes the front page take. This, I believe, is a 4-year dormant factory, inching back towards life. Not so much with fanfare, but with a hope, with a very quiet secretariat meeting and a CM pressing for speed on a deal which is already signed. But the question I have for all of you is this: will Ford's Maraimalai Nagar plant actually hit its 2029 target? Or will this remain the same wait and watch pattern that's defined Ford India's relationship for years? Please do let us know. What are your thoughts in the comments below? And I believe, it would be good, right, to have Ford's vehicles again plying the roads of India. That's my thought. What are yours? This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the IIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Now, only a week ago, TCS opened a Gemini Experience Center with Google Cloud in Kolkata. Today, the same company has reportedly acquired land that could house OpenAI's first data infrastructure facilities in India. And you know what gives us true joy, before I get into the details of this particular development, is the fact that you like, share, and subscribe. Always motivates us. Thank you so much. Keep the support coming in. Now, 2 parcels, 200 acres in Annakapalli district near Visakhapatnam, allotted by the Andhra Pradesh state government, and 88 acres in Bhopkhel, a Pune suburb, acquired for 640.5 crore rupees from Hemisphere Properties, the public sector company managing former VSNL assets, which is now, by the way, under Tata Communications. Now, neither TCS nor OpenAI has officially confirmed what these sites are actually for. The Annakapalli acquisition was made through Hypervolt AI Data Center Limited, TCS's own subsidiary built specifically for this kind of infrastructure. Now, in February, OpenAI announced it would become Hypervolt's first customer, starting with 100 megawatts of capacity and the option to scale to 1 gigawatt. Now, the land records and the February announcement are pointing at the same thing. I'm pretty sure that you've gathered that. The Vizag location is not accidental. Andhra Pradesh has already approved Google's $15 billion hyperscale data center across sites in Adavivaram, Tarluvada, and Rambili. The state government is actively positioning the region as AI City Vizag, with a dedicated emerging technologies cluster being built around it. Now, CM Chandrababu Naidu has called it, and I quote, more than an investment, it's actually a vision coming to life, end quote. Now, TCS's land falls within the same geography. TCS's shares are down roughly 31% year to date. Against that backdrop, Kranti Bhatini of Wealth Mills Securities read the land acquisition quite simply and went on to say this, and I quote, with an increased focus on data centers and AI, TCS is strengthening its presence in the data center segment through its collaboration with OpenAI. This reflects a long-term strategic focus, end quote. Now, Ravi Singh of Master Trust added that TCS, and I quote again, is preparing for the next wave of AI-led growth rather than just expanding its traditional IT business, end quote. Now, this comes day after TCS posted Q1 fiscal year 27 profit of 13,349 crore rupees, with its AI business running at a $2.6 billion annualized run rate. A week apart, Google in Kolkata, OpenAI's potential footprint in Andhra Pradesh and Pune, now two of the largest AI labs in the world, both moving through TCS in the same month. Something seems to be afoot. Let me try to go ahead and maybe shed light on that through the front page take. Now, Indian IT has spent 30 years selling services on top of other people's infrastructure. We are aware of that. But let's also not ever deny the fact that it has been responsible for building the Indian middle class. Now, TCS is acquiring the land, 2 parcels, 1 dedicated subsidiary, a February customer announcement. None of it officially confirmed as a package, all of it pointing the same way. Now, the $2.6 billion AI run rate is what the earning call said, but the Annakapalli and Bobke land records are what the company actually did. Now, in a quarter where the stock is down 31%, both, to be honest, matter. If you feel something else matters, please do let us know in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the IIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Now, a company that builds periscopes for submarines and optics for fighter jets has signed up to build something entirely different, the tiny packages that hold every advanced chip together. Well, before we move on to this story, which is very close to our heart at Front Page, please, I request you, which is also something which is very close to our heart, is the fact that when you like, share, and subscribe, truly motivates us. Thank you so much for your kind support. Paras Semiconductors Private Limited, a subsidiary of Paras Defense and Space Technologies, has signed an MOU to set up a greenfield advanced IC packaging OSAT facility. The location for the same, the Indore-Ujjain region of Madhya Pradesh. Proposed investment, approximately 6,200 crore rupees. Now, here's actually who's backing this on the ground. The MOU was signed with the Department of Science and Technology, acting through the MP State Electronics Development Corporation, or MPSEDC. Now, the partnership will integrate expertise and resources from both sides to facilitate the project inside of Madhya Pradesh. Now, the confirmation came through a formal filing to the stock exchanges under Regulation 30 of SEBI's listing obligations rules, signed off by the company secretary Minal B. Bhatte, dated the 22nd of July. Now, time now, of course, for us to break down on what this facility actually does. And here's the exciting part. Now, OSAT, outsourced semiconductor assembly and test, it signifies the stage after a chip is fabricated, where raw silicon gets packaged, tested, and made ready for use in an actual device. Without this step, even a perfectly manufactured chip is, well, unusable. Now, this is the exact layer of the supply chain that Semicon 2.0's fourth pillar is specifically designed to strengthen. And this isn't a basic packaging line, so let's not mistake it for that. The facility is designed to handle genuinely advanced processes, 3D heterogeneous integration, 2.5D and 3D advanced packaging hybrid bonding, ultra-high density fan-out packaging, chiplet integration, wafer bumping, flip chip assembly, testing, and reliability assessments. Now, these are the packaging techniques behind today's most advanced AI chips, where multiple chiplets are stacked and bonded together rather than built as one single monolithic piece of silicon. Now, this is the same class of technology powering next generation AI accelerators worldwide. Now, here's what actually makes this move less surprising than it first appears. Would be exciting again. Paras Defense already builds precision optics, sensors, and electronics for submarines, aircraft, and space applications. That work demands exactly the kind of precision engineering advanced packaging and chiplet integration also require. The company's defense and space background isn't unrelated to this pivot. It's arguably the foundation for it. Paras has also stayed active on other fronts recently, including a June deal for an exclusive IP license to manufacture the Guardian-1 counter-drone interceptor in India. Now, a company which is diversifying across defense, electronics, and now advanced semiconductors in parallel. Here's why actually this particular state landed the deal. Madhya Pradesh has been actively courting electronics and semiconductors investments through MPSC DC's dedicated push into the sector. Now, the Indore-Ujjain corridor gives the project access to an established industrial base and a state government eager to add semiconductor packaging to its economic profile. Now, alongside its existing manufacturing strengths, interestingly, when we view this from a macro view, we start to kind of see this, which comes to vision. Seoul Semiconductor is scouting Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Gujarat for an assembly plant. The cabinet approved Semicon 2.0's 1,27,500 crore push with packaging as a named pillar. And now, Paras Defense is bringing 6,200 crore rupees in OSAT investment to Madhya Pradesh. Now, every week, right, a different Indian state lands a piece of the semiconductor packaging puzzle. Just such exciting times. And here, of course, to add to those is the front page take. This is a defense electronics company betting its precision engineering skills, and why not? Now, translate directly into the semiconductor supply chain, and that's where I think the clincher is. This is not a chip designer, not a fab, the critical middle layer that makes every advanced chip actually usable. But then, as always, here is a question I have for you. Can a defense and space company successfully execute a 6,200 crore rupees semiconductor packaging facility, or does this ambitious diversification stretch Paras beyond its core expertise? Something very interesting to ponder on. Please do let us know what are your thoughts in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the IIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.
AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architects, technical consultants, Gen AI practitioners, developers who want to move beyond experimentation and deploy AI systems that create measurable business impact. The future of AI belongs to professionals who can take intelligence from concept to real-world execution.
There are a lot of models available on Amazon. You can use any model. For this particular workshop, I'll go with Llama 3. It's the simplest, easiest, and in terms of cost, no problem. But yes, if you are an organization, you want to go and work, you can use Anthropic's Claude model. You can use any of these models. So this is the 2ML file. And what you need, all of you, is you can see there is a Docker file also created. There is a Py project created. There is requirement, and this is the environment. So this is the app where you have a Py cache. So this is your cache. Init.py will not have anything, that is for initialization. This is your actual agent script. And then here you have got a README, which you can use automatically running in Docker, and these things come automatically.
You can click on data store. You can click on the tool name. So this is tool 1. It's a data store. You can give the description. Now I'm going with the lowest score in terms of grounding. So we have low confidence that the response is grounded.
AI prototypes are everywhere, but very few professionals know how to deploy AI where businesses actually operate. Introducing the Certified Forward Deployed AI Specialist by Adasi, a certification designed for the new generation of AI professionals who can bridge technology, deployment, operations, and business execution in real-world enterprise environments. Because modern AI success is no longer just building models. It's about making AI work inside production systems, customer workflows, and enterprise operations. The future belongs to engineers who can take AI from demo to deployment. This certification is ideal for AI engineers, solutions architect, technical consultants.
Now, Winston Lobo, our senior tech journalist, has been covering the story of AI solving India's hardest real-world problems all year. He has covered India's AI weather forecasting breakthrough on the show, which he and I had an in-depth discussion on the 11th of May, if I remember correctly. That was from the block level monsoon, 3,000 sub-districts. That was a great story. Now I believe the story is bigger. India has 282 million e-Sanjeevani telemedicine consultations processed through AI. A smartphone cough recording is screening patients for TB before a doctor sees them. Outbreak detection time has fallen from 14 days to under 72 hours across 700 districts. Handheld X-ray machines in Andhra Pradesh produce an AI TB report in 2 minutes. 100 AI weather stations deployed in Punjab by IIT Ropar, free to farmers. AI surveillance at Kempe Gowda Airport connecting 500 cameras to real-time threat detection. So basically, India has built extraordinary AI capability at the detection layer. But the response layer, well, the farmer acting on the data, the patient getting the follow-up tests, the operator responding to the alert, is where I guess the honest question really is alive and kicking right now. Now, Novinston is joining me exclusively. This has been a while that he has joined us on Front Page. To discuss this and a lot more, as always, he has some fabulous, interestingly nuanced insights. Welcome to Front Page. Novinston, how have you been?
Hi, Sudhi. I'm doing great. How have you been?
I've been wonderful. We've missed you on Front Page, but I'm so glad that you're here. We thoroughly always enjoy your very deep dive articles that you keep writing for the Analytics India magazine. So thank you for that. I want to first actually kick off with the most recent one that you wrote, which is about the Indian AI revolutionizes surveillance tech. So your article covers Vehant at airports and metro stations, industry AI connecting 500 cameras at Kempe Gowda, Terminal 2, CISF linking facial recognition across 6 cities to a national data fusion center, and RailTel's AI surveillance contract at New Delhi railway station signed in May of 2026. So basically, your piece essentially is looking at AI surveillance, which is moving from passive recording to real-time decision support. Now, what surprised you? Let's start there now, Winston. What surprised you most while reporting it, and what is the one detail that did not make it into the final story? And please be honest about that one detail. Huh?
Okay. So what surprised me the most is the timeline of this. Because see, to be frank, we imported most of our CCTVs from China.
Correct.
And it's not even been a year since the government wanted to crack down on the CCTVs, which comes from China. They increased the standardization testing process and the quality certification. So I'm really amazed at the timeline of how the government quickly set this into motion,
which is now honestly a breath of fresh air, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. So now when you look at it, in the past let's say 6 months, the import from China has gone down more than 50%.
Fabulous.
And so while the import has gone down, meanwhile, what government is also doing is, one, ramping up the production, at the same time replacing already existing CCTV units, which are very prevalent in Indian market right now.
Right.
And so they're targeting the residential and commercial places, maybe in the last segment. But right now, what they're trying to do is completely revamp the entire government infrastructure buildings where these CCTVs were installed earlier. Because initially the question came, it's not about the security, it's about who owns the data. So if China owns hard data, there is a lot of national threat they can handle from their end. So that's where it came from. So frankly, I'm very amazed at the timeline. And one thing which did not come into the story is an update from our previous weather forecast story, I guess.
I'm coming to that. Don't rush into it. I'm coming into
Okay.
that. I'll come
So
to that.
maybe,
But before I do, I have to obviously also, generally spitball with you on this one. I remember I was having a conversation with the founder of Enethai. And, that entire, I guess, motivation for Enethai, it came from a personal space as far as him was concerned, why he started it off. But also, what was an alarming detail now, Winston, I'm sure you're aware of this, that during a crackdown, some of the government agencies found that certain CCTV cameras were connected to solar panels, which, by the way, were giving direct feed to the people across the border. I mean, the nefarious groups across the border were getting clean feeds, which then forced the government to go into an audit of all the CCTV cameras. So do you feel this could also be another factor why the government is coming down so strongly on this?
exactly, because see, at the
And I'm
end,
not talking about China when I say across the border.
I know, I can understand.
Right.
So see, at the end, the whole point of entire surveillance or screening systems and security systems we have in India, it's because it should be one preventive measure should be taken, and at the same time, any form of data should not go out of the border. Right. That was the whole point.
Sure.
But if they were the malicious groups, if they were able to retain data or steal data, technically it's stealing from us, just because there is. So the people we spoke to, they said there is a little bit of storage chips in every solar panel, right? Any form of renewable energy has a little bit of chip with the memory and RAM. So they tapped into that. It's a very small space though, but it's very easy for them to. It's a small entry gate, but still it's an entry gate for them to steal our data from it. So it's like you said, it's one of these important points because India doesn't want any data to move outside, which means these groups, they don't have to put an in-person inside India. They can just surveil us without us knowing. So that's the threat, and the government came down really cracking down on it, and it should be appreciated, I feel.
Absolutely, absolutely, I agree. We should applaud an effort honestly, credit where credit is due. But then be this, Winston, before we move on to the weather stories and the other very important stories where AI is being used for real world problems. And actually, to be honest, and I'm going to share this with you, ladies and gentlemen, that is actually the core of our discussion today, because Winston and I decided that we should definitely talk about the last mile aspect of things, which actually affect lives in a big way, and Winston tends to cover that with a lot of passion. Anyway, having said that, I want to ask you, what are the kind of guardrails, Winston, which are probably in place with these developments as far as Kempegowda airport is concerned, or for that matter the New Delhi railway station is concerned? Because the government has already burnt its fingers. It's kind of aware of what's happened in the past. Are there any changes which have been made? Are there any revisions to probably the policy, etc.? Please walk us through that.
It's more from the tech angle, let's say. AI has helped a lot. Like in this perspective, for especially when we spoke about the timeline, AI-powered surveillance and AI-powered solution actually rampant the time for our government and the private entities collaborating with the government to accelerate this process, especially when it comes to screening the data, the analysis which goes behind it, and at the same time to domestically manufacture hardware within India, the R&D and collaborations with premier institutes on ground. So AI has been in the forefront. And when we talk about what has changed, so the government is taking a look at several perspectives at the same time. One of the major drawbacks in all these public gathering places, like let's say airports, railway stations, metro stations, is that the queues.
Right.
We have 1 billion people, so the security checks
little more
take a
than
lot
that.
of time. Yeah, exactly.
We've been working very hard to achieve that figure and go beyond.
Yeah. So when lakhs of people walk into these infrastructures every single day, security check becomes a hassle because we have very limited police personnel on ground and frisking
Sure.
everyone, physically analyzing everyone
Yeah,
takes a
yeah,
lot of time.
true.
So that's where AI comes in. So what the government and the private entities has done is that they started building indigenous AI powered threat screening solutions, they call it. So these threat screening solutions does what 10 police military personnel can do physically at that spot within seconds. So they screen people, they analyze the kind of luggages people carry, and one more interesting point is that they've even improved the CCTV analysis to a point that even when you wear a mask, the CCTV can detect who this person could be.
Ah,
It
nice.
gives you it gives you a probable idea of who this person could be, because over these last few years,
Especially
let's talk
because of
about,
COVID. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So let's talk about people smuggling in gold, or smuggling in weapons, or
Sure.
illegal animals for that
Sure.
matter.
Sure.
So what they do is they have this database of the kind of people who are on the wanted list. They might escape because they might change their hairstyle or their dressing style, their entire physique. It's highly possible that the human error, they can let go because of the human error. But these screening solutions which are created in India right now, they bypass all those.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Once they screen a person, if the AI flags that this could be a potential suspect, it gives alternative images of this person who he could be, and this happens within seconds. So it's easier for the person sitting behind monitor to cross verify and immediately alert the person on ground to isolate that person. That is one. And with regard to we were talking about Vehan.
Yes.
So according to the founder, he said AI is also being used to, identify non-metallic items.
Ah,
So
okay.
whenever we go through a metal detector,
Right, right.
so what lot of uh, malicious groups they have found out is that any sort of weapon, it can be caught during the metal detector or in a regular scan. So they started creating
There
3D
are
printer.
3D printed guns now, Winston. So, I mean,
So
that could come under the scanner, right, with this technology
yeah.
now.
So, and even when it comes to high alert threat like explosives or
Right.
homemade explosives, what they're trying to do is,
Or
if
narcotics, probably.
in narcotics also, let's come to that. But with explosives, what we have learned is that I spoke to one of the senior police officer with UP. So what he's saying is sometimes groups, they send 5 different people in 5 different
Right,
timelines.
right.
Each might have different part of a
Correct.
unified explosive thing,
Right.
which they can bypass through a metal detector. And there'll be some other person inside the airport who can patch it up and then use it. So
God
that,
forbid.
yeah. So the detectors right now, this development came in collaboration with IIT Delhi, where the
Fabulous.
scanner uses low power non-ionizing radio waves, which scans through the entire body, and it detects non-metallic items, which usually escapes metal detector
Sure,
and physical pat downs.
sure. Fascinating developments. Talking about IIT, of course, now I'd like to, bring your attention to, and I know you're excited about talking about this. IIT Ropers, Annam.ai deployed 100 AI weather stations in Punjab in March of 2026, free to farmers. IMD's block level monsoon forecasting now live across 16 states. Now, Winston, you remember this story. You and I thoroughly enjoyed speaking about this. Now, what are the developments? And of course, the question I have for you is, as a follow-up from the last time, what does the farmer in Punjab actually do differently with hyperlocal rainfall data, which we discussed, but I would like for you to probably answer that through the lens of any developments which have taken place, and of course, how is the digital literacy aspect that probably has progressed or not?
Right. So just before our meet now, I spoke with one of the senior officials with IMD. So what has happened is, when we spoke last time, it was still in pilot phase. They were still figuring out, how it works, and we've sent the warnings and stuff like that. So right now, what the metrics they have is that uh, they've crossed the pilot phase, and they have 64% overall accuracy
Fabulous.
and more than 50% of extreme weather warnings. And
Nice.
they're very proud to say actually India is the only country to provide operational weather forecast to a very granular level as small as 5-6 kilometers.
Right.
And that's where Punjab comes in, because Punjab has huge thousands of acres of farmland, and they brought it down, the weather forecast to as small as 6 kilometers. And one of the tools which was built by Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, which is called Bharat Weather Forecast System. It's a Indian made tool. So this tool, what happens is it ranges, uh, the days range is that they can range somewhere between 3 days to 7 days, meaning like they can forecast the weather between 3 to 7 days prior to the rainfall.
Nice. I
Or it
remember
can,
last time when you and I were speaking, I thought you were talking about maybe I think about a day or two, but I believe
yeah,
even now that is further improved, right? That means so that is progress.
yeah, exactly. And they're saying when we spoke to him, the person is like, this is a very smaller time gap that we have. We need to increase it to more than 15 days. So that's
Nice.
the angle they're working towards it right now.
Nice.
And in the last 2 months, it's been a huge success because I think we spoke about how the monsoon might be delayed. They had
Yes.
predicted that as well.
Yes.
And right now, we know there's El Nino, and the southwest monsoon is stopped completely because the wind flow is not as much as we expected. And their predictions were right. And because of this, they were able to warn the farmers in Punjab. Especially what they do is they have ground level, grassroots level agents who go talk to the farmers. They meet through farmer associations, they meet through agricultural department, and they meet through disaster management agents who go on ground regularly, because once the land gets dried up, once the crops are dried,
Yeah.
there's a high expectation of large scale fires in farmlands.
Yes.
So in order to prevent all those, they were able to send in water tanks to the areas where they felt where they realized that there is lesser groundwater. And they also use something called uh, a coupled forecasting system, which is an upgraded model of high performance computing systems that they had.
Nice.
And it's really helped the farmers right now, and they were able to predict the rains which came in Mumbai as well. And because of this, the disaster management and the local municipal governments were warned prior, and they were ready
Nice.
with all the defensive measures as much as possible. They gave warnings to public buildings, government buildings, private entities, uh, where there usually floodings happen.
Tell me this now, Winston. Last time, if you remember, you and I, when we were, I mean, there is, of course, a lot more that I want to get into, as you are aware, in terms of, how AI is genuinely impacting lives and everyone's lives, right? So, but before we move on from this one, because this one is truly, I think, very close to your and my heart. Last time, if you remember, you and I got stuck at the point where we were talking about the funding bit. Has there been any, I don't know, progress there? Because truly that is what matters. And second, all the metrics that you talked about, would you be able to maybe share with us in terms of, let's say, for example, the cost saving or some figures like that, which might just give a context to a lot of the viewers?
Yeah, so with regard to cost savings, so I think the agencies are still auditing,
Okay.
because in the past few years, what has happened is there has been a lot of disasters when it comes to delayed monsoons.
True.
One, because hectares and hectares of lands of crops go for waste, and then there are farmland fires, and then if there is extreme rainfall, like it happened in Mumbai, there are floodings where public infrastructures are damaged, people's
Sure.
lives are damaged.
Sure.
So the entire audit is still going on. So we don't have the exact figure, but what we can surely we can completely assure is that it has been cost effective with regard to the lives and the crops saved because of the system that we have.
Also,
And
I think the pesticide bit, remember you and I discussed that a farmer can plan that a lot better and saves a lot of money there. because he
Yeah.
knows when the rain will come down. Now, if he dusts his crops with pesticides and the rain suddenly comes down, to be honest, literally, all of that money goes down the drain.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, what they're focusing is because throughout India we are seeing delayed monsoon. They're still not focusing on the high rain potential. They're trying to manage and distribute water impact, and at the same time try to warn which are the areas which might get a little bit of rain. Well, right now, what people on ground they are saying is that India needs more and more rain. The rains that we
Which
get
is
right now,
true.
they are not enough
Which is true.
to distribute. So going forward, maybe if there is a time when we can expect high and heavy intense rainfall, that's when the whole angle of pesticide also comes in, because they'll be able to
Fair.
warn them
Fair.
when to prepare the lands to drain the waters out.
Fair point. Anything on the funding front though, Norbinston? Nothing really. Everyone seems to be tight-lipped, right? Because this last, I remember you and I had kind of finally, we could not draw any conclusions because everyone said that they're still collecting data and only then will the
Yeah.
policy start to get into a situation or a committee will be formed, etc. Anything from the private sector? They might have gotten excited about something as wonderful as this?
Uh, with regard to agriculture, no,
Nothing.
Because right now, because they are able to get very positive impact, the funding will be, I think, the next step. I think within the next few months we can expect some sort of funding from the government or from the private investors. But for now, we are in the
Right
black
now it's
of
a wait and watch.
yeah.
Well, that's another reason, right, Norbinston, that you and I decided to kind of just do this discussion today so that we can actually bring a lot of the positive aspect of things to the knowledge of the people and the viewers who are
Yeah.
watching, and I'm sure they'll be able to share this across, and you never know, there might be some
Exactly.
interesting breakthroughs that might come through. Which brings me to the next one, right? Here is Vadhwani AI's cough against TB analysis smartphone, cough audio, for TB screening before a doctor sees the patient. Now, Andhra Pradesh, and I'll give you a few numbers, 100 AI-enabled handheld X-ray machines, 2-minute AI report. India has, and this is unfortunate, but India has 28% of the world's TB burden. Now, according to you, Norbinston, what does AI screening before diagnosis change, and where does the system still kind of face its challenges?
Yeah, so it's one of the major hurdles this initiative, this tech has crossed is as Indians. What's the one thing we'll say when you ask someone, maybe our parents or our friends, you might want to check it out. The first thing we say is, nah, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It just goes
True.
off. So that is the initial hurdle we wanted to overcome, especially the medical sector in India. They wanted people to realize that there is something wrong with the body.
Yes.
Until and unless we realize there's something wrong, we won't take the step, to go meet a physician, to go
Sure.
to a pharmacist. We won't do that.
Sure.
So that's where this tech helps you, because one, you're able, it's a handheld machine, and you get the report within 2 or 3 minutes, and the person next, and the report is also not very, it's not in the doctor language where only a pharmacist can read. No, the report shows which is the lowest level and what is your mark. If the mark is highest, you have this issue. So it's immediately for you to go and check it out. Just consult a doctor. So that's the first step we need to take. So
Right.
that is the first step. Every medical sector, Indian Medical Board also wants people to take it. Just go consult. Don't think with
Don't
your gut feeling.
presume. Correct.
For yourself, right? So that saves a lot of life.
Yes.
And tuberculosis, even for that matter, when how does tuberculosis come up? It comes with cough, it comes with
Yes,
fatigue.
yes.
So whenever something happens, we just go to a pharmacy, get something, get a pill, pop it. We sleep for a day, next day we might feel good. But internally there's a lot of issues going on which we don't see through our eyes. And that's where this mobile x-rays is also coming up. And interestingly, there are societies and medical institutes who are collaborating, like real estate societies and medical institutes collaborating.
Very interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Where you can go walk, maybe let's say someone is walking through a society park.
Right.
There will be an X-ray, there will be an AI-powered medical instructor kind of a person. You go, hold these machines, scan. Within 5 minutes, you will be able to know the vital body measures or the vital impact in your body. Let's say about the blood group or the
Sure.
hemoglobin,
Sure.
WBCs, very basic heartbeat. So anything wrong with that, it shows you on screen immediately, and you can go directly contact even to a point of muscle tissue tear, even so minor. Initially, you need to go to a scan center, you need to take an
Yeah,
MRI, you
yeah.
need to wait in the queue.
And these
So
are for
all,
free? Are these for free? I mean, in terms of the real estate and the medical collaboration you're talking about for a lot of the residents, is it free
so
or
for the
chargeable?
residents, it's free. Yes, it comes with the package.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, so that's where the collaboration is coming in. So this type of collaboration is completely unseen, and it is only done because of AI.
Yeah, which
And
is true.
a lot of medical institutes, big pharma companies, they are also in talks with the government, to fasten this so that as you already know, our government hospitals right now are, uh, underpowered.
Overburdened, I would say.
Yeah, there are very less doctors for very high
True.
number of public.
Absolutely true.
So in order to overcome all this, they are in talks with the government where very essential OPD, medical testings, very important vital screenings. You need not wait in line. You can just take the report and go to the person, go to the doctor concerned. So that's where this tech is evolving. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we can see a huge boom uh, where there will be people, to help you navigate, like just like this, in metro centers, you no need to go take a ticket anymore. There's an automatic machine where vending
For that,
machine.
it's basically in a way the a medical avatar of a vending machine of sorts, Novinston. That's the
Yeah,
best way I could think about it.
exactly. And for the future generation also, I think it comes with a major help, because once you know that something is internally wrong with you, people are very hesitant to go to the hospital because it takes a lot of time. It takes you the whole day.
Absolutely. Plus,
Once,
no, I'll also add a few things. So these are the very positives that you and I have discussed till now. But the first thing that comes to mind now, Winston, for example, if I were to go ahead and check with a machine like this, let's say, right? But the first thing which might come to my mind is, no, maybe it's hallucinating. Maybe it's not true. Maybe, it's not as accurate. I still will want to get, like, let's say, a second opinion or a second test. Do you think that's a big challenge, and what is probably being done to overcome that? Because that, I think, is a big gap.
right, yeah, actually, it's a very good question, because I can't imagine asking, my mother or my grandfather to do it, because they'll be like, nah, it's hoax.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's the first instinct. So what one from the government side, as we spoke, the government, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to install it in uh, public places. So one, it should be done with word of mouth.
Fair.
It's one of the best things that can happen. So once this uh, trust in the machine turns up more and more, they believe people will also try to walk in. It might take some time to reach this sort of trustworthiness with the machine. But any person we spoke with, they're very optimistic, because they're
That's
for
nice.
sure they're sure it will happen. It might take some time for people to trust, and with especially social media in our hands right now, it once the accuracy data or the audit after the entire process is released, it will bring trust, more and more trust within people.
So trust is a challenge.
Yeah.
Anything else that, while you were talking to the experts, or as you just mentioned, a lot of people are very positive about it. Anything else that probably was thrown up as a challenge that is being worked upon right now?
Yeah, so one of the challenges is ROI for the companies,
Yeah,
because from
that's
the
a big
company
one.
perspective, um, because it's a new tech and
Yeah.
it's coming up, and there's a lot of scope for this. They want the ROI, they want multi-float in returns. So when we are talking to analysts, one of the concerns they mentioned is that there's a high possibility, if the government don't step in properly, and right now, uh, companies might want to not set up in public infrastructures, but in private, only in private
Which
hospitals. So
tends to happen with healthcare, especially.
exactly. So again, the disparity becomes a huge problem. So that's where they are seeking the government, to subsidize the companies so that they can be installed in the private
Fair point.
sectors.
Fair point. So that is basically trust and the fact that there has to be a commercial viability attached to it, which then further opens it up to a much larger population landscape, essentially.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Which brings me to the next one, Novinston, which is the fact that AI-powered media disease surveillance system. I'll give you numbers again. 4,500 plus outbreak alerts, detection time cut from 14 days to 72 hours, which is commendable, across 700 plus districts. 27% decline in adverse TB outcomes. Now, according to you, what made that possible and why did it honestly take this long?
So one of the important hurdles we had faced before is interdepartmental collaborations,
Okay.
meaning it's not just between departments. See, when someone walks into a hospital, let's say there's some sort of X virus. Someone in Chennai walks into a hospital and gets tested for it. The same report is not passed on to an hospital in Delhi. The same report is not passed on to a hospital in Gurgaon.
Because
Because,
the onus lies on the patient. He has
yeah,
to
exactly.
carry the reports, or
Reports,
she.
right?
Right.
Yeah. So with the tech right now, so there's a unified platform. There's a unified internal platform for government hospitals and private hospitals, where the internal data is collaborated. So there are different segments where any sort of diseases are tagged. For example, TB, for that matter.
Sure.
We are able to scan and find out which are the areas, which are the districts or states where TB is high. And then what do? You send your water department, because TB gets
Yes.
contaminated through contaminated waters.
Correct.
So you test the groundwater facility, you test the wells, you check for mosquito rodents and all those. This is for TB. And at the same time, if there is another sort of, let's say, X virus which we have not encountered in human history ever, so it goes under the X factor, and the government is now able to identify, the Indian Medical Board is able to point out how many X factor virus are there within a day.
Ah, nice. Okay.
So this collaboration was not, that's why, like you said earlier, it took at least 15 to 20 days.
Yes.
Because there are doctors who are collaborating with the associations through WhatsApp groups, through emails. Right now, you don't need to do that.
And now it's down to 72 hours, which is amazing.
Yeah. So the report gets piled up every 48 hours, and the doctors and the medical board, they are able to see where the issue is and what are the symptoms, even to a point of what's the blood test and the amount of, I don't know the biological terms, but the amount of bacteria and viruses inside the blood which is found.
Sure.
So they are able to trace and dissect those X factor viruses themselves to danger and non-danger, and then reach out to the R&D and the medical research to come up with a solution for it. And all throughout this, the timeline is picked up so fast since COVID especially. And let's say it was just 5 years ago. And right now we've reached a point where you can target and pinpoint. And the medical research is also, in the last few years, medical research funding has also gone up. Because of this, they are able to obtain the necessary raw materials, prepare a vaccine for it or a solution for it, or any sort of medicine that can halt the spread of virus.
So it's nice, right? It takes me back. I hark back to that conversation between Professor Rajiv Sengal of Bhashini and I, which we had on Front Page. Truly, honestly, it was a very knowledgeable conversation. What a brilliant man. And I remember he mentioned this one thing, and that's exactly, I think, what you and I are trying to kind of threadbare here today, Novinston, where he mentioned that, 1,000 problems of India should be a list which should be made, and we should not be constantly following the global giants. We should actually start solving for what is on ground for us, and that in itself can accelerate the entire commercial and various other factors. If 100 problems are solved, we can accelerate from there. So it's nice. It brings a smile to me. Anyway, now moving on to the next one, which I have to ask you is this one, which is that 282 million consultations processed through AI-assisted e-Sanjeevani. Now, AI triage reduced unnecessary emergency presentations by 22%, which is a huge number. Cancer screening then, Novinston, hitting 90% plus diagnostic accuracy at district hospitals, which is again What a wonderful feather in the cap. So what, according to you, is the honest picture of what works and what still fails?
So India has been in the forefront for a very long time for cancer detection, and even then, the numbers we talk is pretty far less because most of the natural deaths we see in everyday life, it happens in some way or the other because of the carcinogenic cells
Yeah.
in our body. And the problem with that is it's not detected at the early stage. And why it's not detected, you go back and back, it's not detected one. And why it's not detected? Because of the accessibility issue.
Sure.
Anyone from a suburban, let's say, place in Karnataka, the first place they want to go to a cancer institute is either Manipal or Bangalore or Mangalore, which is very pretty far away.
True.
So there comes the accessibility issue. And the second is the cost issue, cost factor. When you talk about cancer, the first thing that comes to your mind is I have to mint lakhs.
Yeah.
So that still remains an issue. But what has been overcome as a hurdle is the accessibility one, because see, we have one of the best minds for medical in the world,
Which is true.
right? But the problem is the proportion, the ratio is very less, especially when it comes to doctors who are specialized in any form of cancer. I think the recent data shows it's up to 1:6,000 or 7,000 or something like that, which is a bigger number. For anyone, you can't imagine one doctor managing 7,000 cancer patients.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
huge,
just
huge disparity.
yeah.
So
Almost
what
impossible, to
happens,
be
what
honest.
the medical institute is trying to do here is that cut down the time for the medical practitioner so that uh, initial screenings, testings can be done with AI with the n number of data that we have in the past 3-4 decades, with the X-rays, with the scannings, we are able to do that. So once the initial screening is done, then AI is able to flag. So whatever, let's talk about, maybe your carcinogenic cell is found near your chest. All right. So the data in the past 30, 40 years shows if it's a predominant area, it shows what's the next form of medical approach to be done. But if there is any form of area where there is no data at all, which is completely new, it immediately flags. And the doctor is able to take a look at it himself and then come to a solution. So majority of the cancer issues are passed on through immediate screening, and then it goes on to the doctor. So what we're trying to do is cut down the time and at the same time the cost of it, because when we spoke about it, cancer screenings coming in districts, it's a very new thing, maybe in the last 2 or 3 years maybe. Before that, it's a huge hassle for anyone from districts to go to a very major metropolitan city,
I
find a
agree.
good hospital,
I agree.
or even when you go to a government hospital, you need to know someone who will refer you internally, and it's a huge hassle. People don't want to go through it, and we have lost a lot of lives because of that.
What about
So,
the
but
implementation aspect? Because I mean, since we are just talking about the accessibility factor now, Winston, then logically, the implementation aspect comes to mind. Has it been widespread in terms of the implementation? Because I agree, if the accessibility is there, at least fine, the economics of it is another conversation, but at least the person, unfortunately, who has been detected with it or diagnosed with it can plan better.
yeah. So accessibility, like you said, it's still an issue. It's still not widespread. It's still not reached
Why
the
is that?
grassroots. It's not reached the grassroots where it should reach. And more, a lot of insurance companies still reject any claim which
So
comes
that's
through
the
cancer.
problem.
So you need to take a special separate claim, where the average is really high. So the Indian Medical Board, again, they are in conversation with the government to come up with special insurance just for cancer patients.
No,
Which
that
is
is fine. I'm talking about the implementation of e-Sanjeevani as I'm speaking to you. From the point
right.
of view, does that have any overlap, or does that have any issue when it comes down to the insurance claims, etc.? Because if a person is, let's say, detected it through that particular platform, is it
Right.
still kind of warranted for them to kind of uphold?
So, to be frank, it's not 100% successful yet because there are a lot of claims getting rejected as well. And to be honest, one of the things that experts say is that because it's a new thing, until and unless a complete, internal audit goes out, complete
Agreed?
research on how many claims have been rejected and why they have been rejected, and what companies should do about it, and then talk with the company, say, see, you can't do this. So the whole of this process will take a lot of time. But right now, at this point, accessibility is an issue, and and the initiative is not still widespread.
But the numbers are good. The numbers are very positive and encouraging. So, what do you
Numbers
feel
are
could
good.
be done to overcome that hurdle? Again, I
Yeah.
believe the government needs to weigh in and entrust people and insurance companies across the board. Probably patronize them to tell them yes, this is important as part of the detection methodology is concerned. I don't know. That's just I'm spitballing with you.
Yeah. So right now, one of the suggestions that we received is that you need to let in a lot of non-profit agents into the
Yes.
field,
Yes.
who can fund these processes for grassroots level. Uh, Funding directly through the government is a really tough job because you
That's
need to
fine.
go through a lot of red tape.
I agree.
So
I
what
agree
they
with you.
try to do is not through the government but through non-profit agencies. You can bypass the government and then get the funding. So that's where the talks are right now. We are apparently Indian Medical Board and a lot of private players in India are in talks with few other countries, to get these fundings so they can improve the accessibility and take the initiative a lot more widespread.
You know, where am I coming from? I'm coming from a simple point. I was not coming from the funding point, which thank you, you have of course, elaborated on. But I'm coming from the fact that, how the government can play a very strong role once, let's say, all the necessary audit is done, the vetting is done, it is 100% foolproof as far as technology in this platform is concerned. Remember Arogya Setu? The
Yeah.
government made it a mandate during COVID. So I was just thinking on those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right, right. So, see, if the government decides it wants to do it, it can do it
Yes.
overnight. It's not
Yes.
like they don't have the manpower. They are the government. They can implement it, widespread initiative, take the initiative, do it in a week.
Correct.
Any, like they if they want, they can install cancer screening center for every 4 or 5 districts together. It's not like it can't be done. But it's just that people like us and people like activists and analysts and medical board needs to keep pushing the government, uh, bring this issue to the limelight, saying, see, this is one of the major issues. You have the potential to stop it.
Agreed.
So
Fair
that's
enough.
where most of our experts come from.
Fair enough. Well, because of a slight paucity of time, Normanston, before I let you go, I have to ask you this very important, poignant question. Of course, I will be bringing you back on front page. I'll be
Sure.
grateful if you do come back because we still have to discuss Nano Swiffer. We have to discuss, Vihan's entire understanding at the Mahakumbh. There are some very fascinating developments which have taken place, especially with using AI for the betterment of a lot of these very large gatherings, etc. But here is a question which I have for you before I let you go. India has built AI at the detection layer, which is across agriculture, healthcare and security, as we have discussed. The consistent gap now, according to us, is the farmer who gets the data but cannot act, the TB patient flagged but never followed up. We've
Yep.
discussed this a little bit. India is solved for detection. Now, the last mile bit is where I'm going to posit the question. Where is the biggest gap between what the AI flags and what actually happens next?
It's see, with security and surveillance, there's a much more positive light on that side
Agreed.
because surveillance is taken very seriously, and any sort of flagging happens, the real time uh, reaction time is much lesser, within minutes.
Sure.
But when it comes to healthcare and agriculture, and unfortunately that's where the large number of lives will be impacted. With agriculture and healthcare, communication and the type of implementation, it's bit slow.
So there is a policy paralysis maybe on those areas?
There is a request from most of the experts we spoke that this needs to be brought to the limelight, definitely, because as
Which is what we're trying to
seriously
do.
we take a national threat,
Yeah.
we need to make our own local production, which is agriculture, very seriously, and the life safety to increase the average livelihood of an Indian, which
Yes.
comes from healthcare.
Fair.
So, without the government focusing on these two perspectives, any form of surveillance or security, I don't know if it will bring the same fruit. So, where it lacks the most uh, is accountability, I guess. Uh, you need the government needs to focus on this right now. It's not like we don't have the potential for it. We do have the potential.
Honestly, Novinston, I wouldn't just only criticize. I would say, and I'm not just saying this for the government, I'm also talking about the private sector. I'm also talking about, maybe somewhere in my mind where honestly also a gap is maybe a sense of ignorance, maybe a sense of awareness. People are not very focused into these aspects and issues as much as they need to be. That's just a thought which I'm sharing
True,
with
true,
you.
true. Actually, it's a double-edged sword. That's where I was coming to next. See, one from the government perspective, and then from the people's perspective. Even the toughest thing, see, when we spoke to the IMD person, one of the toughest things is that the farmers are not. They're quite reluctant, to
Yes.
accept as a fact, because they're like, see, we've been looking at the sky for 3, 4 decades and farming. We don't need this machine. So that's where the immediate
Yeah.
conversation goes to.
Correct.
So right now, but when you showed them, so after this 2 or 3 months, when they're able to see, oh, okay,
Yeah.
what the machine predicted happened. So they're like, okay, let me trust you as well. Let me take you into consideration. Let me give you a little bit of room. So that trust process, it will happen. It's not like it won't happen, but it will take some time.
Fair enough, Novinston. But obviously, we need to, finally, I feel as a solution, it's important for us to keep having these conversations
True.
time and again, and not letting time slag and keep it at the front and center in the spotlight of people's minds, because I think that can be the biggest edge that can bring a lot of these things to light, and really soon as part of the system, as part of probably the curriculum, as part of the protocol moving forward.
Exactly.
As always, Novinston, it's been a true pleasure, and please do follow Novinston's articles on the Analytics India magazine. He truly does have a very nuanced thought in terms of what truly actually impacts our lives. Please do let us know what are your thoughts in the comments below on this entire discussion. I believe it's been a positive one, and we will have another round of this time and again on Front Page. Till then, like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.